Monday, July 5th. Last week, a crew arrived and began building something according to the orange stakes that had been left by the surveyors. As the day wore on, it became apparent that they were building frames for sidewalks. This will be for the outside Mikasa area. Madigans were very kind to let me come be on their gorgeous patio to watch the action up close. Chris took this picture of Oliver in the orange vest inspecting the lines of sidewalk. This sidewalk comes out of the AL building near the atrium and curves around the Mikasa dining room. One sidewalk goes from the AL building to door 4, and another sidewalk goes from door 4 down the hill toward door 3. Meanwhile, Dave the electrician is busy trenching from up by the patio area down to the maintenance level, so there'll be electricity for lights or irrigation or anything else up there. Surveyors returned and were working on measurements for the roadway. They will be really glad when asphalt has been installed. Skytrack stays steadily busy, bringing loads of supplies that will be installed in either Mikasa or the new assisted living floors. It seems that every other trip Skytrack makes is to empty trash or bring a new bucket to fill up with building trash. When Oliver is not inspecting, he stays busy doing things like cordoning off a trench so Skytrack won't fall in. This delivery looked like flexible baseboard material for bathrooms or kitchens. Later that day, Skytrack made many trips with things that look like prefab cabinets or countertops. One morning, I awoke at 7 o'clock to a concrete truck leaving below my window. Another truck soon backed up and was offloading concrete into the pumper truck. Don said they started at 4:30 and he was surprised I slept through it. When I started taking pictures, it looked like they were almost through, and I wondered why there were so many guys working, but the snake burping concrete was so heavy that it took several of them to maneuver it around. Chris Madigan got the best picture, so now you can see where the sidewalk runs. After a few more hours and a few more loads of concrete, the guys were finished wrestling the big black snake. I'll bet you they were tired by now. Finishing work seems to take almost as long as the pouring, but when they're done, it's really worth it. Up above, on the second floor of assisted living, the workers are leaning out and watching, and I'm sure they're offering great advice if I could understand Spanish. Late in the afternoon, with the sun on the building, it fairly glows. I love the shadows. Next day, Oliver is investigating the sidewalks after they have dried. Walking up the south side street, Don found this worker taking down an unhealthy tree to make way for the stronger ones. That doesn't look too safe, but he does have a harness on. Oh my goodness, He finally got it down. Great pictures, Don. After therapy, I stuck my camera in the healthcare window and saw that they were taking down walls. The little cat was running in and out of the building to break up concrete so they could reroute sewers and electrical lines. It's really loud. I'm sorry for the people on the 4000 wing. One morning, Brightview landscapers arrived and started digging a hole. Later that day, I asked them what they were doing. They told me digging for gold, but that didn't fly this time either. As Skytrack made trip after trip delivering supplies, the guys finally admitted they were digging holes for steel poles, and then they would be building a shade structure for Mikasa residents when they were outside. There is not a lot of ground surface up there, and I'm not sure where they're going to put all this stuff, but they keep offloading it. Down below the South Solarium, a little cat delivers another pallet of supplies. It's going to need water wings. Sneaking a look in the Sandia dining room, they have completed the flooring. It's getting closer to being open. Another day, I looked up and was surprised to find chandeliers. These are similar to the old dining room, and these are in the new dining room. We will have plenty of light to see, to eat, and to chat. It's been a while since we followed the adventures of Indy, the Madigan's granddaughter. This time, her family went camping in the wilds of New Mexico. Indy's tent is bright and cheerful with several colors. She's going to have to get more body weight if she wants to win when she's wrestling with her dad. I bet she's the best one at games and crafts and coloring. Ooh, s'mores. I want to be around that fire at night. Even as a bitty girl, Indy was brave. It doesn't look like that has changed, as she picks some pretty unusual places to go swimming. It won't be long before she gives up water wings and is swimming far and wide. Indy loves to hike. I wonder if she built those stone towers in the stream. Indy has a new haircut, a half mohawk. How come I didn't think about having one like that? We miss you, Indy. Keep having fun adventures that we can share until we see you again.
Good morning from Assisted Living. Look at those trucks down there. They're collecting flooring material. Materials seem to be not going into the building, but coming out of the building. Otherwise, independent living looks about the same. Maybe there's a little more scaffolding. As we come down to the end here, we're going to see that the settling pond for that gypcrete stuff is still there. But there are only 2 rubber duckies in there. There used to be 3. I think it probably was a lover's triangle and one of them got kicked out. Anyway, around the east end here we can see they've put up also a little more scaffolding, but no white insulation yet. It's Wednesday, July 7th, 8:10 in the morning, 73 degrees, sunny and humid. You can see that the hatch is closed And on the south-facing wall, it seems as though they've put the final coat of coloring on. You can tell it's a final coat because along the top they're installing vent covers. The coloring is only on the top 3 levels, however. The bottom is not done yet. You can see that Block Monster's broom is still there, although it's been moved a little bit. And did you ever wonder where all the water goes on the roof? Can you see any drains? Are there any downspouts? Maybe it's going to be a swimming pool up here. There is news on Ingenuity this week. She has taken her 9th flight, and it was a big success. She flew 600 meters at 5 meters per second. The flight was dangerous, flying over a sand dunes area, gathering data that Perseverance could not gather. Both Perseverance and Ingenuity are moving south, that is down on the map shown. The Octavia Butler landing site of Perseverance is shown in the middle. Perseverance is now south of the Setata-N site and north of the CF-FR location. Setata is Navajo for amongst the sand. Perseverance plans to proceed toward Setata-S and then eventually retrace her route and go north and then west to the Three Forks area. Present plans seem to be for Ingenuity to tag along indefinitely. This week, again, we think about spin in baseball. Last week, we talked about fastballs, that is, pitches that are fast, that is, thrown hard, and usually have backspin. The 2 main types of fastball, the 4-seam fastball and the 2-seam fastball, differed by the fact that the 4-seam has a spin axis that is horizontal, and the 2-seam fastball has a spin axis that is tilted so the pitch tails or moves in the direction of the pitcher's throwing arm. We also mentioned the cut fastball or cutter, which tails the other way toward the pitcher's glove hand because its spin axis is tilted opposite to the 2-seam. There is a lot of historical gobbledygook about how to throw these pitches, but new technology is showing that what really matters is velocity, spin rate, and spin axis tilt. Oh, and location, location, location. Pitchers achieve spin and spin axis tilt in a number of ways: by arm angle, by grip, by release finger pressure, and by wrist twisting or whipping on release. Arm angle and to some extent wrist whipping are detectable by the batter. Grip and finger pressure differences are subtle and difficult to master. This year, especially with the use of new measurement technology, there is a big emphasis on spin rate, which brings us to the next major topic, curveballs. A curveball is thrown with topspin, so it drops. As with fastballs, there are a number of variations, including the slider, the slurve, and so forth. Curveballs are usually slower at 80 miles per hour than fastballs at up to 100 miles per hour, mostly because it's harder to achieve lots of topspin on a harder pitch. Let's look at a couple of curveball videos.
The curveball has been developed over many years, However, one thing stays constant. When throwing a curveball, pitchers must keep their pointer and middle finger together against the seam on the baseball. Some pitchers will stick a knuckle or spike a knuckle into the ball, which will create a tumbling effect. An effective curveball is a nose to toes, or 12 to 6, as the hands on a clock. Dwight "Doc" Gooden in the 1980s had a very sharp curveball. The curveball is thrown by keeping your fingers on top of the baseball as you throw the back of your hand towards the catcher and let the ball roll off the fingers. The slider is a very effective pitch at deceiving the batter. A slider is a combination of a fastball and a curveball that slides more horizontally rather than vertically. Some players that have thrown effective sliders in recent years are CC Sabathia and previous to that David Cone, who in 1999 threw a perfect game using a slider grip. Bob Gibson historically was an outstanding pitcher who used a slider. The slider is thrown effectively by putting the middle and pointer finger against the seam on the baseball, and it is thrown with a quarter turn of the wrist, pronating the thumb upwards upon release. It must be thrown with a fastball arm speed so as the batter will not be tipped off that an off-speed pitch is coming. A slider is usually 3 to 5 miles an hour slower than a fastball and has late break.
So, we've gone on way too long here, but at least now you know about curveballs. So now we're back at assisted living, and you can see that mud and mess is a little bit of a problem as they try to prepare the roadway. It looks as though the Banco wall there is done and they're prepping the sidewalk for pouring concrete maybe. And up toward the lobby they're smoothing out the roadway, I think, and getting that ready for paving. The area in front of the lobby looks a lot more cleaned up than usual. That's nice to see. I'm not sure what those two big boxes out in front of the lobby area are. Maybe we'll find out later. Meanwhile, let's skip over to the back side. Here the building looks the same, and they're working on the courtyard, and the sidewalks seem to be done. They're building some kind of a shade structure there. It's nice to know that an area that's perpetually in the shade will have an extra layer of shade. The west end here looks about the same, except maybe a little messier and a little muddier because of the recent rains. Looking back into the courtyard, we get a nice view. And again, coming down here, we can see the solaria areas are still yellow, and we get a nice long look toward the east.